Character customization is everywhere. It's a feature present in pretty much every decent game in the market. The reason is obvious. If you're going to stare at it for hours, it better be to your liking. As game developers, we cannot ensure that the main character wears your favorite outfit. However, what we can do is to ensure that at least it wears your favorite colors. We found a way to do it, and we'd like to show you how. Mind you, it may require some color theory. However, we'll keep it as basic and graphic as possible. If you already know the hue, saturation, and brightness of the color you want to use, then skip all the way to the part when these values are entered. If you don't worry. I'll show you a way to find these values. We'll need some tools to start. First, we need a picture with the color you want to use, as well as a software program for graphics to help us out. If you are using Windows 11, you can use something as basic as Microsoft Paint. However, if you are using Windows 10 or something else, you might need something a little bit more advanced. GIMP is free, Adobe Photoshop is not, and just like this, there are a lot of tools in between that can help us out. Let's use Microsoft Paint in Windows 11 since it's the most common application out there. First, we open the picture with the color we want. The color we have chosen is a bright pink, which is often one of the most difficult colors to set when it comes to character customization. We use the color picker tool to sample it. Something neither bright nor dark. This will be our base. Then, we open the color for edit. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. That's not what we want though, so we switch the view to HSV, which stands for hue, saturation, and brightness with the wrong B. Hue is the tone of the pigment to use. Saturation is the amount of pigment to use. Brightness is how light or dark we'd like our color to be. Now we copy these values. Our outfit now has a color that is close to what we want, although we are not quite there yet. We have some gray zones that make this look rather lifeless. This is where color theory can help us out. I'm going to open the same picture using GIMP only because this tool makes it easier to explain what we are trying to do. In short, what we did in Microsoft Paint, we will now do in GIMP, and whatever we do in GIMP, we can do it in Microsoft Paint or any other graphic tool. The only difference is that GIMP's color map is much easier to read, and the application interface shows us exactly where our color is. Now, to fix the gray zones in our outfit, we focus on the low light or shades of our picture. This is the original sample. We use the color picker tool. Then we take a sample of a shade, which is a dark version of our color. The color map tells us that for shades, we move a little bit down, but mostly to the right. This means that for our pink color, Shades are mostly an increase in saturation and a little decrease in brightness. By looking at the actual values, ignore the hue for a moment, we see that the saturation increases by about 35 give or take, while the brightness decreases by about 10 give or take. No need to be precise since these numbers will change from sample to sample. Let's enter these values. Delta means change in math. In other words, saturation and brightness will change as much for low lights or shades. The color of our outfit now looks very close to what we want, but we are not there yet. We have accounted the change in saturation and brightness. But what about the change in hue? If we look at the numbers, we notice that for low lights, the hue shifts towards the red color. Now, I'm not a physicist, so I cannot explain exactly why this happens. My understanding is that the light from the sun is not a perfect white, but instead, it's rather yellowish. That is why highlight or tints shift towards yellow, whereas low lights or shades shift towards red. Let's enter this change. A typical value of -5 will do. Now we got pretty close to where we wanted. Let's check the highlights or tints as we did with the shades. We use the color picker tool. Then we take a sample of a highlight, which is a lighter version of our color. The color map tells us that for highlights, we move to the top, but mostly to the left. This means that for our color, highlights are mostly a decrease in saturation and a little increase in brightness. By looking at the actual values, we see that the saturation decreases by about 10 give or take, while the brightness increases by 5. Let's extrapolate a little bit and increase by 15. So, here it is. Our main character is now wearing the color we wanted. It's not an exact copy, but it's close enough. Personally, I think it looks better than the original. This technique works best with light, bright colors, where tints or shades are more about changes in saturation. In contrast, darker colors are more about changes in brightness. Still, that little hue shift will always apply, bringing more life to your favorite color. Thanks for watching.